Hey, this is Mr. Mola with lesson 4-1, writing equations in slope-intercept form. So first we need to go over a couple things about what is slope and what slope-intercept form is. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay? Y and x are just y and x. Most of the time they stay as y and x, unless they give us a y and x to put it in there. M stands for slope. So we should always have a number in there for whatever our slope is. And b is our y-intercept. Okay? So now that we know what they stand for, we actually have to know what they are. Okay? So slope on this section is all going to be about graphs. So the way we find slope on a graph, we use something called rise over run. So slope is always a fraction. And slope being a fraction, I know might sound scary, but it's actually easier if slope is a fraction. It's more confusing when slope is a whole number. So if you get something like 5, that's really 5 over 1, or 3, that's 3 over 1. But it's usually easier when it's like 2/3, because then you don't forget to put it over 1. Okay, so rise is how much our line is going to go up or down. And up is positive, down is negative, as we would assume. Run is how much our graph goes right to left or left to right. Right is positive and left is negative. Okay, so we're going to count from dot to dot on our graph if it's going up or down, and then left to right, and then how much, and we're going to write that as a fraction. Okay, and just like when we're reading something, if a graph goes left to right, that's going to be positive, or if it goes up, so like here, from the left side to the right side, this graph is going up, so it's a positive graph, positive slope. Here, from left to right, left side of the graph to the right side of the graph, it is going down, so that would be a negative slope. Okay, so there's slope, and then y-intercept is our b. And our y-intercept is just where the graph crosses the y line. And it's usually just a whole number. Very rarely is it going to be a fraction for us. But you got to see where it crosses that y line. So we're going to write it out pretty much every problem. Y equals our slope, and then x, and then plus or minus whatever the b is. So if you look at example A here, so I'm going to count here. So I'm at -1, 0, -1, and I'm going to count my rise first. So if I go up, now I'm at 0, up again, now I'm at 1, up again, now I'm at 2, up again, now I'm at 3, I went up 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise is 4. I went up, so it's positive. Okay, so now I'm really right there. And now I'm at 0, and I need to go over to the right 2 spots. So over to 1, over to 2. So I went run 2. And we always want to simplify this. So my rise is 4, my run is 2. So I'm going to simplify that as 2, or 2 over 1. And then my y-intercept. So where is this graph touching my y line? Remember, here's my y line here, and it's touching the graph at -1. So my final answer here, if I'm writing it in slope-intercept form, is y equals 2x minus 1. Okay. Same thing here on b. So remember we talked about before how this is a negative line because it's going down from the left side to the right side. So I'm going to write y equals negative number. I don't know what the number is yet, but I know it's negative. So same thing. And now instead of going up first, my graph is going down. So I'm going to go down 1, down 2, down 3, down 4. So my rise is -4. Kind of weird to say rise -4. And now I need to go over to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going over to the right 4. Again, this isn't as simplified as it could be. -4 over 4 is the same as 1. I'm not going to write the 1. I'm just going to write the x there. But you could write -1. Okay. And then our y-intercept here, it looks like it's crossing my y line there at +2. Okay. Something else we can do on both these problems. I'm not going to give you a different answer, but we'll see like here I started at the 0, 1 spot. Some of you might be questioning why I didn't start at the 2, 3 spot. You can start at the 2, 3 spot. Let's say I do it from there. So I'm going to go down 1, down 2, down 3, down 4. That's a -4. and then I go left 1, left 2. There's no difference between positive 2 over 4, or sorry, positive 4 over 2, that's 2. Negative 4 over negative 2, that's still 2. So it doesn't matter which dot you go from. If you go from the first dot to the second dot or second dot to the first dot, doesn't matter. And then same thing here. I'm going to go up 1, up 2, up 3, up 4. So up is positive, and then I'm going to go left 1, left 2, left 3, left 4. Left is negative, so positive 4 over negative 4, doesn't matter, still negative 1. So no matter what, no matter which dot you go from, you're still going to get the same slope. A lot of kids always ask, like, well, I went from this dot, so I got a different answer than you. Now, if you got a different answer, then you didn't count it right. All right, next one here. So this is a negative slope. From left to right, it's going down. So I always like to start at the top one then. So it looks like I'm going to go down 1, down 2, down 3, down 4. So my rise is negative 4. Again, kind of weird to say, rise negative. And this looks like a little bit bigger of a stretch here. So over to the right 1, over to the right 2, over to the right 3, over 4, over 5, over 6. So and I run 6 to the right, so a positive 6. So I'm at negative 4 over 6, which can be simplified as negative 2/3. Okay, and then my graph is touching right here at positive 1. So negative 2/3, whoops, x plus 1. All right, last one here. Looks like my slope is going up from left to right. This line is going up. This one looks like it has a shorter slope here. So it looks like I'm going to go up 1. So that was easy. I like it when it's small numbers. So I rose 1, and I'm going to run 1, 2. So run 2. So my slope is 1/2. So y equals 1/2 x. And it looks like my y-intercept is going through the y line at negative 2. So y equals 1/2 x minus 2. All right, let's look at some more examples here. So some of these on this page. So now we're on page 99 in our note packet. And so they give me my slope and my y-intercept, so it's just seeing if you know how to write it. So remember, our equation here is y equals mx plus b. M is our slope, and b is our y-intercept. Okay, so I have a slope of 0 and a y-intercept of 9, so y equals 0x plus 9. You don't really need the 0x, you can just do y equals 9. Here, kind of the same thing. We got a 0 in there, so y equals negative 1x, or negative x, plus 0. Again, we don't really need the 0 in there. It doesn't do anything. Here's one that actually has 2 actual numbers. So my slope is 2, so y equals 2x. My y-intercept is negative 3, so minus 3. Same thing here. Y equals negative 3x. My y-intercept is 7, so plus 7. 5, y equals 4 is my slope, so 4x. My intercept is negative 2, so minus 2. 6 has a fraction in there, doesn't change anything. So y equals 1/3 x. My y-intercept is plus 2, so plus 2. All right, I'm going to do 1 or 2 of these since we already kind of did a couple of these on the last page because we got one more thing to get through in this video. All right, so here, so same thing. So y equals, I'm going to figure out my slope. So I like these a lot better because it has the grid in the background. So it looks like I'm going to go down 1, down 2, down 3, down 4, and then over 1. So negative 4 over 1 is really the same as negative 4. And then it has my 1 as my y-intercept, so minus 1. Okay, let's look at this one because it's going to be a fraction. So y equals, I'm going to go up 1 and over 2 to the right. So y equals 1/2 x. It looks like my y-intercept is negative 2. Okay, so you might get some pencil marks on your Chromebook here while you're trying to count these things out. So make sure your pencil lead is in when you're trying to count these things on the line. So otherwise, these with the grid, pretty much exactly the same. All right, and the last kind of problem here. Now it just gives us 2 points. So we have 2 options here. We could graph these 2 points and count their rise over run, or the other way we can find slope when we have points is this formula here. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So when we have a graph, it's easier just to count. When we have numbers, it's easier just to do subtraction. So when they say y2, that means the y in the second pair. So like this is the first pair of points. This is the second pair of points. This is x, this is y. This is x, this is y. So when they say y2, they're really referring to like the 4 in this problem. We're looking at the second point, the y. They say y1, we're looking at the first y, so -4. Same thing, x2, they're talking about the 8. x1, they're talking about the 0. Okay, you don't have to do it in that order. Any order you do it in, as long as you keep it the same. If you did like y1 minus y2 and x1 minus x2, that's perfectly fine as well. You just can't like flop it around and do like y2 minus y1 and then x1 minus x2, because then you just messed up the order. So just make sure that you do it in the same order each time. So if I look here, I'm going to do 4 minus a -4, and then 8 minus 0. 4 minus a -4 minus a negative turns into a plus, so I end up with 8. 8 minus 0 is 8. 8 over 8 is 1. And you'll see on all these problems, they really give us the y-intercept, because remember, the y-intercept is when the line crosses the y-axis. And they're telling us the y-intercept on all these problems, because they're telling you, hey, x is 0. This is where it's crossing the y-axis. So we don't have to do really any work to find the y-axis on this section, because they give it to us. So like for number 13 still, y equals 1x, and they tell us the y-intercept is -4. Okay, here my y2 is 3 minus 2, and then 4 minus 0 is 0. So my slope is 1/4. So y equals 1/4 x. And again, they gave us the y-intercept there at that 0, 2, plus 2. Okay, so look at number 16 here. This one has some negatives, so it might be a little tricky with our subtraction. -1 minus a -5 is our 2 y's. -4 minus 0 are our 2 x's. So minus a negative, that turns into a plus. So I have -1 plus 5 is 4. And then -4 minus 0 is -4. I subtract those, I get 4 over -4, which is the same as -1. Then same thing, they gave us that y-intercept, 0, -5. So I have a -x minus 5. And I'll do one more like this, number 18. So I have -5 minus 3, and then 2 minus 0. So -5 minus 3 gives me -8. 2 minus 0 gives me 2. That gives me -8 over 2, which gives me a -4. Same thing, they gave me my y-intercept. It's there, 3. So -4x plus 3. Okay. 19 through 24 look like a lot different and look like a lot more work. They're really the same. The number inside the parentheses are my x's, and the number outside the parentheses are my y's. So pretty much the same thing. So here my x is 0, my y is -5. Here my x is 4, my y is -3. So pretty much the same thing. If I subtract my y's, I got it there. Subtract my x's. So -5 minus a -3 gives me a -2. 0 minus 4 is -4. That's going to be the same as 1/2. Same thing here, they give me my y-intercepts, 0, -5. The next one, 0, 10. 21, 0, 5. 22, 0, 10. 23, 0, 2. 24, 0, 16. So they give me my y-intercepts there. So this one, going back to 19, so y equals 1/2 x. They gave me my y-intercept -5. So even though it looks a little different and looks more complicated, it's just a different way to give you the 2 points of x and y. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same thing as the first 6 we did here, or first 4 problems we did here on 13 through 19.